At the most important exhibition debut of my career, my fiancé passionately kissed my mentor in front of everyone. They even splashed jarring red paint all over my most prized painting. Gulang kicked over the easel. "Xiaoyu, open your dog eyes and see clearly. This is your true position in the art world." My fiancé Suemo sneered. "Worthless garbage, today's exhibition was just a trap we set for you." My parents were so upset they fainted on the spot, while all the guests whispered among themselves. After settling my parents, I slowly took out an ancient prescription that I always carried from my suit's inner pocket. When Gulang saw the prescription, his face turned ashen, and he unexpectedly knelt down and begged in public. "I'm sorry. I'm willing to give you all my galleries and auction houses." After completing the transfer, to everyone's shock, he rushed to the terrace of the 10-story art museum and leapt off. At the North City Art Museum, the crowd suddenly fell eerily silent. My fiancé Suemo walked directly toward Gulang, who stood in the center of the exhibition hall. A man who had been both my mentor and friend. Under the focus of all cameras and gazes, they shared a passionate kiss, oblivious to everyone around them. Before I could even react, Gulang picked up an inconspicuous red paint bucket nearby. With a gentle smile on his face, he walked step by step toward my most treasured painting. Nirvana. Splash! The glaring red paint, like the most vicious curse, cascaded down from the top of the canvas. That was my masterpiece, completed after 5 years of time and countless burnt midnight oil. The red paint meandered down, resembling grotesque tears of blood. I stood frozen in place, my blood instantly congealed, with only a prolonged buzzing in my ears. "Xiaoyu, open your dog eyes and see clearly." Gulang's voice carried a cruel pleasure as he violently lifted his foot and kicked the foremost easel with brutal force. "This is your true standing in the art world." The easel crashed to the ground, the canvas instantly covered in dust, stained with filthy paint. Suemo clung to Gulang's arm, her face showing undisguised mockery and coldness. "For 5 years, did you really think your third-rate skills could get you into the North City Art Museum? Worthless garbage, today's exhibition was nothing but a trap we set for you. The real show has only just begun." The woman I loved for 5 years, the man I respected like a mentor. It turns out I had been living in an enormous deception like a complete fool. My heart was seized by an invisible hand, the pain making it almost impossible to breathe. I clenched my fists, the taste of blood spreading in my mouth. Just as my sanity snapped and I wanted to rush forward to tear off their hypocritical masks, several tall security guards quickly surrounded me, holding me down firmly. "Let me go." The struggle was futile, yet the feeling of humiliation drowned me like a tidal wave. "Xiaoyu, Momo, what are you doing?" My parents' anxious voices cut through the crowd. When my father saw the mess on the ground and me being restrained by security guards, his entire body trembled with anger. You've gone too far." My son's artwork that took 5 years of hard work. Before he could finish, my father suddenly clutched his chest, his face instantly turning ashen as he collapsed stiffly. "Old Xia!" My mother screamed and rushed over, shaking my father, before she too rolled her eyes back and fainted. "Dad! Mom!" I was desperate, eyes bulging, but the security guards held me even tighter. The surrounding guests erupted in commotion, discussions, photo-taking, and mocking laughter pierced my ears like countless needles. Tisk tisk, what an ugly scene this has become. I said it before, how could a poor boy like him ever rise so quickly? Seems like they backed the wrong person. As medical staff took my unconscious parents to the hospital, the security guards finally released me, but my limbs felt as heavy as if they were filled with lead. Gulang contentedly wrapped his arm around Sumo's waist, walked up to me, and looked down with satisfaction at my miserable state. "Xiaoyu, admit it, you don't belong in the art world." His voice wasn't loud but like a poisoned needle. It precisely pierced my most vulnerable spot. Without my support, without Suemo whispering flattery in your ear, you're just worthless garbage who couldn't even get into a small gallery. Suemo nestled in his arms, with a cruel smile at the corner of her lips and contempt filling her eyes. 5 years and those things you paint are worse than trash. If it weren't for Brother Gulang helping you, do you think you could be standing here? Reporters' cameras greedily captured my every embarrassed expression, while murmurs buzzed all around me. Just then, my fingertips accidentally touched the ancient prescription in my inner coat pocket. These past 2 years, I've been tormented by anxiety and insomnia for the sake of my artistic creation. By chance, in an inconspicuous herb shop in an ancient town, I obtained this prescription from a white-haired old man. At that time, Suemo saw my belief in traditional Chinese medicine and sneered. "Xiaoyu, have you gone stupid? You actually believe in things from these street frauds? Wouldn't a few sleeping pills do the trick?" Gulang also laughed in agreement. "Xiaoyu, don't waste your energy on these unorthodox methods. Focus on your painting instead." At this moment, this prescription they had mocked as waste paper became the only thing I could hold on to. Under the gaze of countless cameras, amid intertwined looks of mockery and pity, I slowly took out that neatly folded prescription, its edges already somewhat worn. Gulangwa. Ched my movements with interest, the contempt at the corner of his mouth deepening. What's this? Too shocked to think straight? Looking for your quack doctor to save you. Suemo also chuckled lightly, as if looking at a pitiful creature who had lost their mind. I ignored them, using just my fingertips to slowly unfold that fragile, yellowed piece of paper. The handwriting on the prescription was in deep ink, exuding an indescribable sense of antiquity. Gulang playfully stepped forward, bending down, seemingly wanting to see clearly what was written on this waste paper, ready to add a few more insults. His gaze fell upon the prescription. For just a moment, the smile on Gulang's face instantly froze, as if struck by an invisible sledgehammer. The playfulness and mockery in his eyes quickly faded away, replaced by extreme terror and disbelief. His pupils suddenly contracted to the size of a pinpoint, and the color drained completely from his face, turning it as pale as paper. This. His lips trembled, and his throat made strange hoarse sounds, as if he had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. No? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The crowd erupted in commotion. Everyone was bewildered by Gulang's sudden dramatic change, and whispers arose from all directions. The smile on Sumo's face also froze, looking at him in confusion. Brother Gulang, what's wrong with you? Gulang seemed not to have heard her words at all, staring fixedly at the prescription in my hand. His body began to tremble violently, his forehead instantly covered in cold sweat. Thud, a muffled sound. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Gulang, who had been so arrogant just moments ago, suddenly went weak in the knees and knelt straight down in front of me. With a face as pale as a ghost, he looked up, his voice trembling beyond recognition, pleading with a crying tone. I'm sorry. Xiaoyu. I'm sorry. Please. Spare me. I'm willing to give you all the art galleries and auction houses under my name. The entire venue fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. Suemo was completely dumbfounded. She stared at Gulang in disbelief, unable to understand how a mere piece of paper could terrify him to this extent. Brother Gulang. What are you doing? Get up quickly. She tried to help him up, but Gulang pushed her away. As if burned, he frantically fumbled in his pocket for his phone, his fingers trembling so much he could barely hold it. Opening his contacts, he found a name and spoke with a voice filled with tears and uncontrollable fear. Chin. Lawyer Chan. Immediately. Right now. Transfer all my galleries, auction houses, as well as those properties, stocks. Everything. Put them all under Xiaoyu's name. Yes. Right now. Execute immediately. Don't waste even a second. The lawyer Chan on the other end of the phone seemed stunned by this sudden instruction, and Gulang frantically screamed into the phone. Don't ask why. Just do it. Hurry. After hanging up the phone, he seemed to have used all his strength, collapsing to the ground, but still maintaining a kneeling position. The surrounding guests had already erupted into chaos, their whispers merging into a humming sound. What is going on here? What was written on that paper? Has Gulang gone crazy? Giving away his entire fortune? I calmly put away that yellowed prescription, folded it again, and returned it to my inner pocket. My movements were unhurried, as if everything that had just happened was merely a farce that had nothing to do with me. Gulang's phone soon received several notification sounds, confirmation messages of the asset transfers. He seemed to have found some kind of release, yet also as if he had fallen into deeper despair. Staring blankly at the ground, he began to mutter neurotically. Retribution. It's all retribution. Suemo looked at him in terror, her face deathly pale. Brother Gulang, don't scare me. What retribution? What on earth was written on that tattered paper? Gulang ignored her calls, slowly pushing himself up from the ground, his movements as stiff as a marionette. His eyes remained hollow, staring fixedly toward the outdoor terrace beyond the exhibition hall. Then he began to walk, stumbling toward the terrace. Suemo finally realized something was wrong and rushed forward to stop him. Gulang, where are you going? Snap out of it. It's just a piece of paper. That useless Xiaoyu is just trying to deceive you. Don't believe it. Gulang seemed completely deaf to her words, or rather completely indifferent. He shook off Sumo's hand and like a walking corpse, stubbornly headed toward the terrace. His silhouette against the luxurious lighting appeared incredibly desolate and eerie. I knew what was about to happen, or rather, I vaguely guessed what price might be demanded by that prescription. But I didn't stop him, didn't even utter a single word. I just stood there watching coldly from the sidelines. Hundreds of people in the venue, including the security guards who had just tried to control me, were now stunned by this extremely bizarre scene. No one stepped forward, no one intervened. Everyone seemed frozen in place, as if under a spell, watching helplessly as Gu Lang walked step by step toward the edge of the 10-story high terrace. He clumsily climbed over the glass railing and stood on the narrow ledge, the night wind rustling his expensive suit. Below was the bustling traffic outside the North City Art Museum. Then, amid Sumo's heart-wrenching screams and the terrified cries erupting from the crowd, he spread his arms and leaned forward. He leapt. Bang crash. The massive impact and shattering glass sounds occurred simultaneously, deafening to the ears. Gu Lang crash. D through the glass dome of the shopping mall located beneath the 10th floor of the art museum, landing heavily in the atrium of the first floor. Screams rose in waves as the crowd in the shopping mall instantly fell into chaos. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, expressionlessly looking down. Blood, like the red paint he had just splashed on my painting, instantly stained the white tiles beneath him. The lower half of his body was folded at an extremely twisted angle, clearly completely ruined. But he didn't die immediately, and was even still conscious. Amid the terrified gazes and scattering crowd, Lang Gu's upper body actually moved. An even more chilling scene unfolded. Lying in the pool of blood, he used his still-functioning arms to drag his completely numb lower body, which hung like a tattered sack. On the smooth tiles he crawled extremely slowly. A horrifying trail of blood extended as he crawled. His target was clear: to leave the shopping mall and reach the street outside. Security guards and medical personnel who rushed to the scene tried to approach him, wanting to restrain him for emergency treatment. "Don't come near me." Gu Lang suddenly turned around, his face covered in blood, expression ferocious, letting out a beast-like roar. "Get away. No one try to save me." His voice was shrill and frenzied, frightening the rescue personnel who dared not approach further. Under chaotic and terrified gazes, he dragged his broken body with both arms, inching painfully toward death, crawling toward that road with constant traffic. Finally, amid the sharp sound of brakes and the thud of a heavy object being crushed, he was flattened into a bloody pulp by a speeding truck. The piercing brake sounds had barely faded when the crowd's screams seemed to pause, only to erupt into greater panic moments later. Suemo collapsed to the ground, staring blankly at the bloody scene. A few seconds later, she suddenly turned her head, her bloodshot eyes fixed intensely on me. "Xiaoyu!" She screamed hysterically, her voice so shrill it seemed to tear through the air. "You devil! Murderer!" She struggled to get up and lunged at me without regard for her appearance, but was intercepted by several security guards who had reacted quickly. That worthless paper! What exactly was written on that worthless paper? Why would Brother Gu Lang commit suicide? Tell me. Her questioning echoed throughout the empty exhibition hall, also striking at everyone's hearts. The scene was deathly quiet, with everyone's gaze focused on me. Those looks were no longer the previous mockery or pity, but undisguised fear and suspicion. Some people had already quietly taken out their phones, fingers trembling as they dialed the emergency number. The sound of police sirens grew closer, intensifying the tense atmosphere at the scene. Meeting those fearful gazes, I even managed to pull a faintly cruel, calm smile across my face. Ignoring Sumo's wailing and curses, I slowly reached into my pocket again. I took out that yellowed ancient prescription that had changed everything. My fingertips brushed against the rough paper surface as I calmly unfolded it. This time I intended to show it to everyone. However, Gu Lang's horrific and bizarre manner of death moments ago had already cast a terrifying shadow over this piece of paper. When I held up the ancient prescription, the crowd around me reacted as if they were seeing some deadly poison. They frantically backed away, trying to distance themselves, and the whispers abruptly ceased. In the midst of this eerie standoff, an inappropriate voice broke the silence. Let me see what's actually written on it." A young man wearing glasses holding a phone with a live streaming interface still glowing on the screen, pushed his way out of the crowd. His face showed a morbid excitement, clearly willing to put himself in danger for the sake of gaining high viewer traffic. Ignoring the horrified glances and quiet dissuasions from bystanders, he walked toward me step by step. Then, with trembling hands, he carefully took the yellowed ancient prescription, slowly unfolding it. The glasses-wearing male streamer opened it and examined it carefully, turning it back and forth, and said quite puzzledly, This is just an ordinary Chinese herbal medicine prescription, isn't it?" He displayed the prescription to his livestream camera. Some angelica, astragalus, goji berries, and a few ink brush paintings of landscapes. The painting is quite elegant, but how could this thing possibly kill someone? He held the prescription up high, his tone filled with surprise and relief. "There's nothing written about curses or poisons or anything like that. It's completely clean. I'm sure it must be that guy who jumped off the building who had a guilty conscience, who did something wrong, can't blame others." The onlookers, seeing the streamer unharmed, also grew bolder. People who had been backing away in terror moments ago now surged forward again, craning their necks, wanting to see clearly the true face of that deadly prescription. Really? Just this? It looks very ordinary. Could it be that Gulang was really frightened to death by his own imagination? In the livestream room, comments instantly flooded the screen, so thick they almost obscured the view. High energy ahead. Shield yourself with comments. Mom, I'm scared. Streamer is so brave. Amibabuda. This humble woman vows to be vegetarian for life. Streamer is awesome. This move just gained 100,000 followers. Suemo naturally didn't believe it. She frantically pointed at the male streamer, then at the crowd of onlookers. It's fake. It's all fake. You've all been bought by Xiaoyu. He's the murderer. You're all covering for him. Her cries were piercing and shrill, but at this moment in everyone's eyes, she looked more like a pitiful creature who had lost her mind. Just then, the harsh sound of police sirens approached from a distance. Several police officers quickly rushed into the exhibition hall, set up police lines, and brought the chaotic scene under control. Medical personnel hurriedly went to the accident scene on the road, confirming that Gulang had died on the spot, in a horrific state. An experienced-looking old police officer walked up to me, his gaze sharp as a hawk's. Mr. Xiaoyu, please come with us. I was taken to a small room in the art gallery, isolated from the outside world. The old police officer sat across from me and got straight to the point. That prescription, what exactly is it about? Why did Gulang lose control of his emotions after seeing it, willingly give away his property, and even go so far as to commit suicide by jumping off a building? I calmly took out the ancient prescription from my pocket again and handed it over. This is just an ordinary Chinese herbal medicine prescription, with some ink paintings on it. I continued to explain coolly. I obtained it by chance when I was suffering from insomnia and anxiety due to my artistic creation. The fearless broadcaster from earlier, along with several brave guests, were also called in for questioning. They all testified that the prescription looked completely normal. Subsequently, the police immediately retrieved the surveillance footage from the art gallery. The footage clearly showed that Gulang had an emotional breakdown and knelt down begging after seeing the prescription, and actively contacted a lawyer to transfer his assets, then walked to the terrace and jumped off by himself. Throughout the entire process, I had no physical contact with him. There wasn't even any verbal communication, let alone threats. The prescription was also taken away for professional examination, and the results showed. The paper, ink, and medicinal ingredients were all completely ordinary, just a regular Chinese medicine prescription with some age to it. However, the suspicions about me weren't completely eliminated. Why would a brilliant young artist in his prime be frightened to suicide by an ordinary prescription? Why would he willingly transfer all his wealth to someone he had just been humiliating before his death? The old police officer returned the prescription to me, his eyes full of scrutiny and confusion. Mr. Xiaoyu, are you sure there's nothing you're hiding from us? I met his sharp gaze with no unnecessary expression on my face. Officer, perhaps Gulang suddenly had a moment of conscience. He may have felt his previous actions had wronged me, and wanted to make amends for the harm he caused me in this way. My tone was calm and steady, my words fully measured. The police couldn't find any direct evidence linking me to Langu's death. And that prescription was indeed innocent. Eventually, they could only instruct me to keep my phone accessible, cooperate with the ongoing investigation, and then let me leave. Langu's death was like a massive stone thrown into North City's peaceful lake, creating ripples in all directions. And that deadly prescription became the eye of the storm, with major media outlets competing to uncover the mystery behind his strange suicide. I paid no attention to the outside world, focusing instead on caring for my hospitalized parents. Emosu suddenly appeared at the hospital in a disheveled state, rushed straight to me, her voice hoarse. Yuxia, please tell me, why would Brother Langu do that? What exactly did he see? I looked at her coldly. Aren't you the one who knew him best? Weren't you two passionately in love, kissing in public? You betrayed me for 5 years, and now you come to me with your fake concern? Suemo burst into tears. That's not true. Xiaoyu, listen to my explanation. 5 years ago he forced me. If I didn't cooperate with his charade, he would have destroyed me and my family. He just wanted to lift you to the highest point, then ruthlessly let you fall, making sure you could never recover. She sobbed, trying to gain my sympathy. Xiaoyu, I was wrong, but I truly loved you. These 5 years watching you being deceived, my heart was breaking. I twisted my lips. Suemo, drop your pretentious act. For 5 whole years you comfortably enjoyed everything Gulang gave you, enjoyed the satisfaction of stepping on me. Now that he's dead, you want to absolve yourself? I stepped closer, my gaze sharp as a knife cutting into her face. Gulang may be dead, but none of the evil you've committed will be forgotten. Get out. A few days later, my parents' condition improved, and the doctor permitted their discharge. I was busy helping them pack their things, opening my father's old wallet, wanting to organize the loose change and cards inside. A yellowed old photograph slid out from between the folds. It showed an infant in swaddling clothes, exquisitely beautiful, sleeping peacefully. What caught my eye was the delicate silver longevity lock hanging around the baby's neck. The lock had a very unique style, engraved with intricate cloud patterns and floral designs, giving off an antique aura. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. I had seen this pattern before. I took out that ancient prescription and discovered that hidden in the corner of what seemed like casual landscape sketches was the exact same pattern. The fingers holding the photograph trembled slightly. "Dad, is this a photo of me when I was little?" Father turned his head at my words, silent for a few seconds, as if making some difficult decision. "Xiaoyu," he sighed, his voice somewhat dry. "Your mother and I had planned to tell you when you turned 30. Father walked to my side, gently patting my shoulder, his eyes filled with compassion and guilt. You're not actually our biological child." It was like a thunderbolt exploding in my mind, leaving my ears ringing. I looked at the man I had called Dad for 28 years, and at my mother beside him, whose eyes had quietly filled with tears. The whole world seemed to be spinning around me. Then my voice was unbearably hoarse. 28 years ago, on a stormy night, someone left you at our doorstep. Father's voice carried the weight of memories. In the swaddling clothes was some money, a letter, and this longevity lock. We waited a long time, but no one ever came back for you. Eventually, we raised you as our own son. Mother came over and took my hand, tears silently streaming down her face. "Little you, no matter what, you are our son. This fact will never change." My mind was in chaos, countless questions continuously churning. After returning home, Father solemnly took out an exquisite redwood box from the bedside cabinet. "All these years we have been keeping the longevity lock, and the letter that was placed in your swaddling clothes." I opened the box. An intricately carved longevity lock, and a yellowed letter were lying quietly on the velvet cushion. Carefully unfolding the letter paper, there were only a few words, entreating the adopter to take good care. It stated that when the time was right, they would come to claim kinship. My gaze finally fell on the bright red seal at the end of the letter. The pattern of the seal was identical to the one on the ancient prescription. Upon careful examination, there was even a hidden seal script character Gu within it. "Dad, Mom, what does this seal actually represent?" Father's eyes were equally filled with confusion and inquiry. He shook his head. "We don't know either. All these years, the longevity lock and this letter are the only clues about your origins." He paused, his gaze becoming determined. "Xiaoyu, perhaps? It's time to search for your true identity." Mother also wiped away her tears and nodded firmly. "Xiaoyu, you will always be our pride. Go find your answers, we support you." 3 days later, the city's top art gallery, auction house, and countless properties and stocks were successively transferred to me. The waste, as Gulang called me. Using legitimate access, I opened Gulang's encrypted computer that he never let out of his sight. His private file repository contained no pornography or dark transactions, but instead harbored a secret that sent chills down my spine. A vast collection of materials about the Gu family of artists had been meticulously categorized. This was a family with low profile yet enormous influence in the art world, spanning generations with profound heritage. And among them, one encrypted folder was titled Origins. The password, surprisingly, was my birthday. My heart stopped for a moment as I trembled while opening the folder, which contained only a single lonely document. The document detailed how 28 years ago, the true grandson of the Gu family patriarch, Gu Mingyuan, was secretly sent away shortly after birth due to family secrets. And Gu Lang, who appeared to the outside world as the privileged young master of the Gu family, was merely a stand-in used to deceive others. At the end of the document was attached a baby photo, with the exact same silver longevity lock hanging around the neck that I owned. The caption on the photo read, "Xiaoyu, the true heir to the Gu family, fostered 28 years ago with an ordinary family surname Xia." The truth pierced my heart like a poisoned dagger. So Gu Lang had known my identity all along and deliberately approached me, mentored me. Then together with Su Mo, he meticulously planned that humiliation at the art exhibition. He wanted to uproot and completely crush me just when I thought I had reached the pinnacle of my career. He feared I would return and take everything from him. Just as I was digesting this earth-shattering secret, my emotions in turmoil, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, an elderly man dressed in an exquisite Zhongshan suit with a solemn face stood outside. He nodded slightly, his tone respectful yet carrying an undeniable presence. "Mr. Xiaoyu, I am the butler of the Gu family, surname Zhong." Butler Zhong. My heart tightened though my expression remained unchanged. "You are looking for me about something? This old man has come to request that Mr. Xia return something to the Gu family." His gaze was sharp, as if able to see through people's hearts. It's the prescription that young Master Gu Lang saw before his death. I took out the yellowed prescription but didn't immediately hand it to him. Butler Zhong wants this? I raised the prescription in my hand, noticing his pupils contract when his gaze fell on the seal. He reached out his hand to take it, but his fingertips were trembling slightly. When he clearly saw the entirety of the seal, and the faintly visible character Gu inside it, he almost couldn't stand steady. Heavens! This is the Qingming seal. It's the clear mind seal passed down through generations of the Gu family, used to cleanse the soul and return to one's true nature. He exclaimed in surprise, his voice filled with incredible joy and retrospective fear. No wonder young Master Gu Lang would. He looked at me, his expression complicated. This clear mind seal has remarkable effects on those with evil intentions and malicious deeds. Once they see it, it evokes their deepest memories of guilt and fear. Their souls are stirred. They lose control, and take extreme measures to atone for their sins. Young Master Gu Lang. He was consumed by his own evil. Actually, when the elderly traditional doctor with completely white hair gave me the prescription at the Old Town Pharmacy, he looked at me with compassionate eyes and whispered, "This prescription can save people, but it can also punish evil. If you encounter wicked people who push you to the edge, you might try it, but use it wisely." At the time I was just hoping to try it out, which is why I decided to let Gu Lang see the prescription. So this was the true power of the prescription. Punishing evil and promoting good, karmic retribution, all contained within a thin piece of paper. Afterwards I invited Butler Zhong to the study, and took out that red wooden box. I placed the longevity lock and that letter before him. His hands trembled violently as he held the longevity lock, with tears instantly filling his cloudy eyes. With a thud, he suddenly knelt down before me. "Young master, it's really you. This old servant finally found you." I hurriedly helped him up. "Butler Zhong, what are you doing? Please get up." He stood up trembling, wiped his tears, and began to tell the Gu family secrets that had been buried for 28 years. 28 years ago, the old family master observed the stars and divined that the Gu family would face a catastrophic disaster. The divination showed that only by sending the newborn eldest grandson away from the Gu family, hidden among common people, fostered in a kind and ordinary family, could a thread of the Gu bloodline and hope for survival be preserved. The young master and his wife, in order to protect you and preserve the century-old foundation of the Gu family, unfortunately perished tragically in that calamity. The old family patriarch was devastated with grief, but to preserve the bigger picture, he could only bring in an orphan who had been identified in advance. He publicly announced that this was his grandson who survived the disaster, and raised him as your substitute. All these years the old patriarch has treated Gu Lang as his own flesh and blood, pouring his heart and soul into raising him. It now appears that Gu Lang must have learned the truth about his identity and feared that one day you would return and take away everything he possessed. Thus this fear ultimately twisted his nature, causing him to commit a series of evil deeds. Butler Zhong wiped away his tears, his tone earnest. "The old patriarch has been thinking of you and searching for you every moment all these years. Young master, please return home with this old servant. If the old patriarch knows you've safely returned, he will certainly. I remained silent for a moment, then nodded. As for my adoptive parents, I will explain everything clearly to them and they will surely support me. And the Gu family, the source of my bloodline, I must go back to see it." The car drove into a quiet place far from the city center, stopping in front of an old, elegant Chinese-style mansion. An elderly man with gray hair, dressed in a plain long robe, stood with his back to us in front of an easel, wielding his brush with bold strokes. His silhouette exuded the dignity of a master, yet carried an inescapable sense of loneliness. "Master," Butler Zhong called softly. Hearing this, the old man slowly put down his brush and turned around. His gaze was deep and weathered, carrying the calmness of one who had seen through the affairs of the world. When his eyes fell on me, especially when he noticed the silver longevity lock I wore around my neck, that calmness was instantly shattered. He staggered toward me, reaching out with a hand covered in wrinkles and ink stains. He wanted to touch the longevity lock, yet withdrew his hand like one hesitant at the threshold of home. When Butler Zhong presented the letter, he could no longer contain his emotions upon seeing the familiar wax seal and handwriting at the end. So like, he mumbled, tears rushing forth. "Just like your father when he was young." He pulled me tightly into his embrace, his elderly frame trembling with emotion, hot tears dampening my shoulder. "My grandson, grandfather has finally found you." 28 years of separation and waiting dissolved into this silent embrace, the connection of blood so real and warm. The subsequent DNA test results confirmed beyond doubt my blood relation to Gu Mingyuan. Grandfather immediately announced to the world that I was the sole heir to the Gu family. Of course, with a carefully crafted narrative. No family secrets, no prophecy of catastrophic disaster, and certainly nothing about the truth of my parents' tragic deaths. The Gu family's public explanation was a baby's mix-up at the hospital 28 years ago, an unfortunate blunder that left everyone wringing their hands. And Gu Lang, that once prominent young master of the Gu family, became the victim of this mistake. He accidentally discovered he wasn't of Gu family bloodline, couldn't accept reality and harbored resentment toward me, the true young master, deliberately seeking revenge. In the end, overwhelmed by guilt, he committed suicide rather than face punishment. What a perfect explanation, both preserving the Gu family's face and rationalizing Gu Lang's death. Subsequently, I formally took over the Gu family's vast business empire. Standing in the study of the Gu family mansion, facing rows of priceless collections, I felt an unprecedented confusion. 28 years of life trajectory, forcibly altered in a single night. The name Xiaoyu, along with all past struggles, efforts, loves and hates, seemed to have been stripped away. In its place was the name Gu Yi, the sole heir of the Gu family. The sense of identity rupture was like a dull knife, repeatedly cutting at my nerves. Grandpa seemed to see through my uneasiness, and he patted my shoulder with his wrinkled hand. Child, a name is just a code. Whether you are Xiaoyu or Gu Yi, what's in your bones won't change. Blood may determine your belonging, but your essence is shaped by yourself. His words were like a warm current, slightly dispelling the fog in my heart. Yes, who I am will ultimately be defined by myself. Just as I was gradually adapting to my new identity and beginning to sort out the Gu family affairs, Su Mo came. She was dressed pitifully, with just the right amount of haggardness and joy on her face. She appeared at the doorstep of the Gu family's old house, asking specifically to see me. You? No, Mr. Gu. She began timidly, her eyes slightly red. Congratulations on finding your birth grandfather and returning to your ancestral roots. Before it was all Gu Lang forcing me. You know how powerful he is. I didn't dare to resist. He controlled me for 5 years and I suffered greatly too. Now that he's dead, I'm finally free. She stepped forward attempting to take my hand, her eyes filled with hope. For the sake of our past relationship, can we start over again? Looking at her affected, pretentious face, I felt a churning in my stomach. I sneered, turned to take a folder from the desk, and threw it in front of her. See for yourself. Su Mo picked up the folder with confusion and opened it. Inside were the recovered chat records between her and Gu Lang spanning 5 years, from his personal computer. Those records detailed how they met, how they immediately hit it off, and decided to use me as a stepping stone. How they mocked me, how they planned step by step to build me up only to brutally bring me down. Even the plan to humiliate me at the art exhibition and ruin my reputation was Su Mo's own initiative. She even proudly showed off her acting skills to Gu Lang, saying that seeing me fooled and looking stupid was her greatest pleasure. Su Mo's face turned deathly pale inch by inch, completely drained of color. Her hands holding the documents trembled violently, as if they were not paper, but red-hot branding irons. No, that's not it. This isn't real. She defended incoherently. This is forged. Gu Lang is framing me. Slap. I backhandedly struck her across the face with such force that she fell straight to the ground. Forged. I looked down at her, my eyes ice cold. Su Mo, even now you're still acting. The evidence was conclusive, leaving her no room for denial. These chat records, along with evidence from Gu Lang's computer about Su Mo accepting bribes by abusing her position, conducting fake art reviews and manipulating the market prices of collections. I handed everything over to the police and relevant institutions without altering anything. Su Mo's actions were soon made public. Artists who had been suppressed by her and collectors who had been deceived by her came forward one after another to testify against her. Her carefully cultivated image as a talented woman in the art circle collapsed instantly, and she became a despised outcast. Those so-called authoritative art reviews she had written were dug up one by one, filled with various lies and transactions. Su Mo was thoroughly ruined both professionally and personally. A few days later, the police formally arrested Su Mo on multiple charges including commercial fraud, defamation, and accepting bribes. When being taken away by the police, she appeared deranged, staring at me intently from across the police line. Xiaoyu, Gu Yi, you devil. This is all you're doing. Just because I deceived you for 5 years, did you have to go this far? Looking at her distorted face, I felt nothing inside. She would pay the deserved price for her greed and malice in prison. 2 years later, I became a significant figure in the international art world, and also established the Yeyu Art Foundation. It aims to specifically fund young artists who have talent but lack resources. What I want to break down is precisely the kind of nauseating hierarchical rules that people like Gu Lang once used to crush me. Grandfather was very gratified by this, and more than once at family gatherings, he held my hand and expressed his feelings. You've done better than grandfather could have imagined," he said with approval in his eyes. "You not only reclaimed everything that belongs to you, but also know how to use this power to illuminate the path for more people." I smiled slightly, looking at the carefully tended orchids outside the window, and slowly spoke. "Grandfather, I now understand that life's greatest art perhaps isn't creating the most shocking works, but rather how to still live authentically as yourself after experiencing storms, and have enough strength left to lend a hand to fellow travelers in difficulty." As for my adoptive parents, I had already moved them to a quiet and elegant villa in the suburbs. Far from the noise of the city, they are enjoying their golden years. I visit them often, bringing my newly acquired paintings. Just like when I was young, I carefully listened to my father's somewhat amateur critiques, while enjoying my mother's nagging yet warm concern. They are forever my harbor, the softest part of my identity as Xieyu. And that prescription that changed everything, that mysterious old doctor from the ancient town, always lingers in my mind. Grandfather said that the old man might be connected to the ancestor of the Gu family, who founded the Qingming seal. One morning, I drove alone and once again set foot in the ancient town. Wing my memory, I finally stopped in front of an unremarkable, even somewhat dilapidated little herbal shop. There wasn't even a sign above the door, just weather-beaten wooden boards. I took a deep breath, pushed open the door, and a rich aroma of herbs washed over me. The elderly Chinese medicine doctor with completely white hair and beard was facing away from the door, carefully preparing something in front of the medicine cabinet. Hearing the noise, he slowly turned around. Seeing it was me, he showed no surprise on his face, but instead revealed a knowing smile. His gaze was calm and profound, as if he had anticipated my arrival. "Young man, I knew you would return." His voice was just as it had been many years ago, carrying a tranquility that seemed to comprehend all worldly matters. I opened my mouth, wanting to ask about the origins of the Qingming seal, wanting to ask if he had known all along about my background and Gu Lang's fate. But he waved his hand, pointing to the medicine pot simmering slowly over a small fire nearby. That prescription was merely a catalyst. What it revealed was never some supernatural power, but rather the good and evil, fears and obsessions hidden deep in the human heart. He paused, his gaze falling upon me, as if he could see through everything I had experienced. "That person was consumed by his own malice, while you preserved the kindness in your heart, allowing you to emerge from the quagmire." As I walked out of the medicine shop, the sunlight was just right. I finally understood completely, whether it was Gu Lang's mad destruction, or Sumo's ruined reputation, or even my counterattack from the brink in my current rebirth. That prescription itself didn't possess decisive power. It was more like a mirror, reflecting the true appearance of each person's heart. Then, fate would deliver the most just verdict based on this truth. The greatest enemy in life, the harshest judge,